Why, aye, Mara. For this wee film, we're looking at a real canny locomotive. So pack yourself a stotty and up on board, pet.
Anyway, the London North Eastern Railway Y7, or for pre-grouping fans, the H Class. No, not that one, the North Eastern Railway H Class. It's a spectacular little shunter, isn't it? When we first announced the Y7, it was lining itself up to be Rapido Trains UK's smallest locomotive and one of the smallest 00 gauge ready-to-run models available. A fair assumption at that stage, and a record that has only recently been surpassed by a cheeky pair of Cornish twins. If you collect cute short shunters, don't let that deter you. The Y7 is still a titchy train. And they have a history dating back to the late 1800s. Before we take a close look at the different variants and why we are making them, let's dive into the loco's history a bit more. They were designed by Thomas W. Worsdale for the North Eastern Railway with the purpose of replacing the aging Manning Wardles that were being used on their dockside lines. This newly conceived design was classified as the Class H. The Class H's simplistic and bare-bones design featured a short wheelbase that could navigate the tight curves and a relatively large boiler that could create plenty of steam to shunt large trains. This meant that they made light work of the bad track work and tight radii that they called home. That certainly sounds like a few branch line layouts we can think of. This success led to the North Eastern Railway ordering a further 13 of the class during the 1890s. Their success continued into the grouping era, the LNER being so impressed by their performance that in 1923 they ordered a further 5 locos, an incredible 35 years after the first ones rolled off the workshop floor. These new locos, along with their veteran counterparts, were classified as the Y7. For such a small loco, they certainly got about a bit. Let's have a look at where they were spotted. Originally concentrated in northeastern locations such as Darlington, Gateshead Works, Alexandra Docks and Tyne Dock, the Y7 spread themselves far and wide, from St Margaret's Shed and Leith Docks in Scotland to Tweedmouth and York, and even as far south as Stratford and Neasden. Their area of operation was cast even further during wartime, as some were loaned to the Ministry of Works near Shrewsbury, 1 to the Admiralty at Carl of Lochaush, and 3 to the Royal Arsenal at Woolwich. Dock work was hit hard during the Great Depression, and between 1929 and 1932, 16 Y7s were withdrawn, with 9 being sold into industry. A further 3 were later sold into industrial service, and BR only inherited 2 Y7s in 1948 to become numbers 68088 and 68089. The latter was used on a rather quaint little branch line, the North Sunderland Railway, where it hauled local passenger services until the line's closure in 1951. Thankfully, 2 gorgeous examples of the Y7 survive into preservation, and these can be found on the Mid-Suffolk Light Railway and the Middleton Railway in Leeds. Make sure you pay them a visit. We did when we were recording the detailed sounds for the DCC soundfitted versions, and we had a wonderful time. Right, on that note, let's have an up-close look at some of the features we are including on our model. Outwardly, the Y7s appear to have no coal bunker. However, a bunker was built internally into the left-hand water tank and loaded from the top. This could hold 6.25 hundredweights in coal, a rather small amount, and often coal could be seen piled on top of the left-hand water tank and even on the cab roof. Plenty of scope for some interesting modelling and weathering there. Throughout their lifetime, many of the Y7s received alterations to better suit their working conditions, or as railway technology evolved. With 9 livery variations of this charming little 040 available directly from our website or official retailers, and a further livery available as an exclusive for locomotion models and railway icons, we are covering as much of its long service history as possible and representing many of its varied features. The early engines were fitted with Ramsbottom safety valves encased in a brass cover, while later on they received standard Ross Pop safety valves. LNER number 986 and BR number 68089 will feature the Ross type valves. The remaining models sport the brass cover type, though these were painted black from their LNER days onwards. Our range will include 2 different designs of buffer heads and shanks, handrails, whistles, brake rodding, and even 2 types of wheels, the 9 and 10 spoke varieties. The detailing and variants don't stop there either. Appropriately fitted to facilitate working passenger trains on the North Sunderland Railway, and in preservation, our British Railways and as preserved NER livery versions come with vacuum gear pre-fitted. For the majority of its lifetime, the Y7 retained a relatively open cab back design. As a modeller, this is awesome because you get to see all the lovely detail inside the cab, but we think it's fair to assume that many a cold dockside crew had some choice words for Mr. Worsdale on his design's lack of shelter. Crews towards the end of the loco's life were perhaps a little more grateful for the conversions made by BR and the National Coal Board. The NCB even went to the extent of adding a somewhat crude, large protective wooden backboard. From the smokebox to the smokebox handle and even the cab roof, there are prototypically correct details represented across the range. Impressive, isn't it, for such a Tyneside tiddler? Of course, it wouldn't be a Rapido Trains UK logo if we didn't push the boat out on optional details you can add yourself. The Y7 is no exception. Along with the usual chain link couplings, steps and shovels, we have included a couple of nice treats. Some engines were fitted with shunting poles to allow the shunting of wagons on adjacent lines. We thought this was quite a fun and rather unusual stock movement, so we've included shunting poles as an optional extra. The shunting poles were the reason for some Y7s having these cutouts in the buffer beam. Last and by no means least, we have saved modelers the effort of having to source or convert dumb buffers. We've included appropriate ones in the bag for you to enjoy. They just glue into place on the buffer beam. It wasn't just the industrial examples that had dumb buffers, several in LNER service were also fitted with them. The order books are still open, but only until the 12th of February 2024, so you don't have long to get your pre-order in. Pre-orders for both the DCC Ready and DCC Sound fitted versions can be made through our website, or you can pre-order via any of our official retailers now. So whether you see these delightfully detailed pint-sized puffers as magnificent Mackhams or glorious Geordies, we are sure they are perfect for any northeastern, industrial or dockyard layout. The hardest decision will be choosing which one. Now, I'm off to order some Anton Deck nameplates. See ye!